My name is Hannah, and this is my no-buy year. So I recently got the idea to create a tag on YouTube that's not a list of questions, but rather a challenge or a procedure, a list of steps to follow in creating an editorial makeup look. I thought it'd be really fun to see a bunch of different incredibly talented and creative people each create a look with the same really specific and extreme constraints. As an artist, as a poet specifically, I often find that constraints cause us to be the most creative. So if you ask me to just write a poem about anything with any structure, that is rather difficult to do, and it can often end up in something messy and bloated and difficult to control and not quite as potent. But if you ask me to write a 10-line poem about strawberries made out of iambic pentameter couplets, I am likely to come up with a much more potent, much more interesting, much more powerful poem that way. So I believe in constraints. I believe in artistic parameters. So I decided to create a YouTube tag born of those principles, and this is it. I'm going to call it the monochromatic makeup tag. It's a 5-step tag, 5 easy to follow steps. I just went through all 5 of the steps, and these are my results. It was incredibly fun to do. I love how the look came out. As you will see when I walk you through the 5 steps, you don't have to choose the color that I choose. You can choose whichever color you want. And I didn't write this into the rules, but I'm hoping that if any of you decide to actually follow through with this tag and either photograph it for Instagram or film it for YouTube, that you will see if you can choose a color that you haven't seen done yet, because I would love to see a wide range of monochromatic looks popping up in response to this tag. So I chose kind of an exciting rusty pumpkin, but I'm getting ahead of myself. All will be revealed as I walk myself through the 5 steps. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. So step number 1 is just to start your video with your base makeup and your brows done. So I already have base makeup and brows on. I'm actually wearing a little bit more base makeup today than I usually wear, especially for this type of video, but I wanted to give myself more of a blank canvas than usual from which to start because I'm really hoping to go for the drama with the color cosmetics. So I used Shape Tape to even out my skin tone, a little color corrector, but mostly Shape Tape to even out my skin tone. I have a lid primer on my lids and it's been there for a while, so it has definitely dried down and set. And then I even carved out my brows a little bit more than I usually do. I went in with some brow pomade and made kind of a darker and more dramatic shape, and then I used a little clear brow gel to set them. I haven't powdered my face because I have very dry skin and I almost never ever powder my under eyes or any of my face for that matter. But if you do, or if you're worried about fallout, then you should definitely put some powder on your face so that you can sweep it away later, or put some powder on your face so that it's easier to blend color cosmetics onto your cheeks. I don't really need to do that because my skin's so dry. Okay, step 2. This is where it gets exciting. Step 2 is to collect a group of color cosmetics that are all exactly the same color. This might seem ambitious and the word exactly might be intimidating, but I think that most of us should be able to do this. I started with a lip color because my collection of lip colors tends to be pretty redundant. It's not that creative or extensive when it comes to shade range, even though I have quite a number of lip colors. So I decided to start with a lip color and match to that. And also the lip color I chose is kind of my inspiration. So I decided to do a monochromatic look based on Faded Clementine, the M Cosmetics Infinite Lip Cloud. And so I swatched that, and then I went through all of my powders and eyeshadows and blushes trying to find things that are pretty much exactly this color. So here's the swatch of Infinite Lip Cloud in Faded Clementine. I had a number of matte eyeshadows that are pretty close to this in color, but the one that was really, really the closest, the one that's the exact match, is actually in the ELLE palette, which none of you have seen on my channel yet. This was a gift from a subscriber recently. Thank you, Courtney. It has this color Tropico, and it's exactly the same color as the lipstick. So there's the swatch of Tropico. So they're almost exactly the same color. Obviously they're different types of products, they're different finishes, but they're really, really the same. They're in the same range. It's like the eyeshadow version of the lip product. Also, obviously you can get more saturation or less saturation depending on how thickly you apply these, but they are for all intents and purposes the same color. So I also found a shimmer shadow that swatches as pretty much a dupe, a shimmery dupe for these two products. It's from the Morphe 35O, which I have long since depotted and gotten rid of. I just have a handful of shadows that I retained from depotting that palette. So I'm not sure what number this is. It doesn't have a name or anything, but it's from the 35O. And there it is right there. So as you can see, I'm going for kind of a rusty, ruddy orange situation for this monochromatic look. And then I thought it would be great if I could find a blush that is at least in this color family, if not as close a color match as possible. I didn't quite have a blush, a super saturated blush that matches this. I have some super saturated blushes that are more on the red end of the spectrum, but nothing quite this orange. I do, however, have Becca Songbird in this little palette. This was part of the gift that Wendy sent. And it's the one that's the least similar. It's not an exact match, but it's definitely very close in tone, undertone. It's just like a slightly desaturated version of this color. Now, if you decide to do this tag, if you're following along and you're planning to do it yourself, you don't need 4 products. You don't even need more than 1 product. I've created monochromatic looks on my face before using only 1 eyeshadow for eyes, cheeks, and lips. You could have more than I have, you could have fewer than I have, just 1 or 2 will be enough. I actually had a really fun time searching through my collection and trying to find a group of matching products. But if you have a color that you really want to choose for this challenge and you only happen to have 1 blush or 1 eyeshadow or even 1 lipstick that is that color, just use that 1 product. I think that would be amazing. All right, step 3 is to create a look using only the color cosmetics that you picked out in step 2. I actually think I'm going to start with the blush that I picked. I'm going to use it to kind of set my lids and buff some color out on my lids and give myself a smooth canvas from which to start. Okay, now I'm going to go in with Tropico from the Alamara palette. I'm going to take a good bit of that into the outer corner and into the crease and buff it actually pretty high up onto the lid. I want it to be the main gig on my lid. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take the unnamed Morphe shadow on my finger and pack that onto my lid. Alright, I'm taking more of the blush on this little tiny tip of a brush, and I'm going to go in with that just right on my inner corners. Okay, and I'm going to actually go in with more of the matte shadow Tropico, and I'm going to pack that a little more in my outer corner. Alright, now I'm going to work with all 3 of these powders on my lower lash line with a variety of brushes, starting with the matte shadow. Well, that is looking nothing if not editorial. You don't have to be this editorial when you do yours. You could create a very wearable monochromatic look. I'm going to proceed to cheeks. I'm going to start with the blush the one from the Becca palette. And I'm actually just gonna wash that pretty lightly over my cheeks. So I'm gonna use this big, loose, fluffy brush and pick up a bit of it, but I'm gonna tap it off a lot. I really don't wanna get that much to start. So I really used that kind of as a contour bronzer type of thing. I brought it all over, and I'm also going to use that on a still kind of big fluffy, but I think this is supposed to be a highlighting brush, but it's like a big fluffy small brush, a big small brush. And I'm gonna fluff that from my cheeks into my eyes, into my eyeshadow to kind of draw it all together. I don't want there to be too much intense blush draping of the dark intensity of the blush into the eyes for this look, but I do want there to be a connection. So I'm going to use this less pigmented version of the color for that. I actually really like how that looks with the blush kind of bleeding from the eyes and then staying concentrated right on the tips of the cheekbones. So instead of draping a darker color all over my face, as I am inclined to do, I'm going to stick with this little fluffy brush and just go in with a touch of Tropico and deepen up the blush on the very, very tips of the cheekbones. This is a super pigmented shadow, so I'm going to be kind of careful with it. Alright, I'm going to resist the temptation to do any more than that when it comes to blush. I like the shape that I've created. I'm going to go in with the lip color now. Okay, there's the lip on. I overlined my lips quite a bit for this look, but then I also did some blotting and some smudging with a Q-tip. So this isn't quite Faded Clementine at its full intensity. It's like a slightly blotted version. I feel like this finish of this color matches the rest of the look the best. So there's a little bit of drama with the overlining, but the lip line isn't too sharp and the color isn't too intense. So that is step 3 completed. I created a look using only the color cosmetics that I chose. Step 4 is optional. It's to add the finishing touches. For me, that mainly means mascara or lashes if you so choose. But I guess if you genuinely can't live without something like a liner, if you feel like it would really complete your look, or say you have like a highlight that's really in the same color category as the color that you chose and you feel like it would work with the look and not against the look, this would be the moment to add in any of those finishing touches. For me, I'm just gonna go with mascara. Okay, there's the mascara on. I put on a ton of mascara. I think it makes a huge difference to this look. I went in with a little sample that I have of Better Than Sex. It's so good. I feel like it's better than any sample size of Better Than Sex mascara that I've ever had before. It's like this particular sample size is really amazing. So my lashes are really fluffy and layered and long. I'm living for that, and I think it's helping the look a lot. I do have one other little finishing touch that I'm going to add. I'm going to put my mole back on. But I think because of the monochromatic look today, I'm going to put my mole back on with this red lip liner. I feel like you can barely see that against the orange blush. I'm gonna go over it with this burgundy colored eyeliner. Better. So that is the finished look, but the tag is not complete because step 5 is to do some obligatory slow motion beauty guru voguing. the voguing isn't optional. It's part of the tag, so you're not allowed to skip it, but you are allowed to make it as goofy as you want. And that is it. That is my monochromatic makeup look. That is my monochromatic makeup tag. I'm tagging everyone that I even vaguely know on YouTube to do this. All of you will be down in the description box below. And of course, if I don't know you or I don't tag you, that doesn't mean that you can't do it or that you shouldn't do it. If you want to do this tag, please, please do it. Everyone is tagged, as with pretty much every tag. And please let me know if you do it. Tag me on Instagram or send me a message or something. I would love to watch any and all videos of the monochromatic makeup look tag. And of course, all 5 steps of the tag will be written out in the description box down below so that you can easily follow them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll remember to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.